Hello, everybody. Today we're talking about Dfinity, which is probably the most ambitious project in the crypto space right now. They're launching on May 7th with trading of their ICP token commencing soon after. Firstly, I'd like to just give a shout out to Nathan Asgill for the Dfinity suggestion, and also to our plethora of subscribers, but no, main shout out to Sean Casey, Rashid, Sean G, and Batu Han. Thanks very much for commenting, guys. We really appreciate you supporting a small channel.
So yeah, what is Dfinity? Dfinity, also known as the Internet Computer. It's a blockchain-based computer. It's highly scalable, decentralized. It's very intelligent. It's distributed, and it's compatible with existing apps, also Ethereum dApps. So what Dfinity tried to achieve is another breakthrough in the blockchain world and the internet world. Like we all know that Bitcoin was the big breakthrough of blockchain. Then Ethereum was a big breakthrough of smart contracts. And now Dfinity wants to disrupt the internet space by making the internet one blockchain computer. So how would this work in reality, right? So everyone can become a data center. And once you are a data center, you will basically create an infrastructure throughout the entire world, connecting all these data centers together. Like Dfinity has allocated and reserved some ICP, which is one of their native tokens, a governance token, to reward these data centers. Then with these ICPs, you can sell them on the exchanges, and people and companies that want to operate on the internet computer will then buy these ICPs to then convert into fuel for computation on the network. And this fuel will be in the form of a stable coin. So you convert your ICPs into cycles, it's called, which is a stable coin pegged to the Swiss franc. The big difference with, for instance, Ethereum, as we all know, is that on Ethereum, you use the Ethereum as gas fee. Here you use your cycles, which is stable as gas fee, which will significantly reduce the gas fee prices. So as an operator, what you can do then is you can build on the network, and how this will work is basically your ICPs and your apps will be connected to a canister, which you can compare to an Ethereum address or something to make a comparison. And these applications can directly communicate with each other. So this system kind of get rid of the centralized data infrastructures we nowadays know within our internet space, which is basically controlled by a few big tech companies. Next to that, your ICP tokens are a governance token, and you can lock them into the network nervous system of the internet computer. How this will work is you take your ICP, let's say 100 ICPs, you lock them in. You have to select for how long you will lock them in. The length of your lock-in will define your voting power and voting rewards. So when you lock them in, it becomes a neuron. And like I said, depending on the time that you lock them in, your voting power is defined. What's interesting as well is that there's an additional factor. The older your neurons are, the more voting power or rewards you will be getting. So it's slightly different than the governance system we already know from the space, but it's very interesting, and it looks like a very useful governance system.
So the older the neuron is, the more voting rights it has.
That's correct.
Then so the Dfinity Foundation has like kind of handpicked these validators, these neurons. Is that correct? Like,
well, you could say, well, obviously everyone can lock their ICP in and get neurons, but you can indeed say like that if you are already an investor in the internet computer, you will be giving some kind of advantage once it launches, meaning that your neurons are artificially older of age, which gives you more voting power and reward. So it gives you an incentive to keep them locked, but you also have the choice to just release them. So basically, there is some slight advantage for early investors. And the question is that fair or not? Like, perhaps it's not, because it kind of defeats a bit the purpose of fair play, right? So
yeah, these early investors are the VCs like Horowitz and the like. So is it like, again, like what CZ did with the Binance smart chain, where it's like centralized, decentralized finance? Like maybe it's a bit similar to that, like, or like yeah.
Just to pick up on something you said, Robin.
Yeah.
So the ICPs are converted into cycles, which are used for computational power, and the cost of these cycles are pegged to the Swiss franc. And that really, rather than reduce the actual cost of cycles or the cost of gas fees, it stabilizes them. So it makes, situations like when people were trying to mint NFTs on the Ethereum network, and because the price of Ethereum had skyrocketed, demand had skyrocketed, the gas fees went through the roof. This is more stabilizing them than making them cheaper. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Like it's kind of stabilizing them. The reason why I think you could say it's cheaper is because obviously initially you buy the ICPs, so you buy ICPs. So kind of when the ICPs raises in value, your cycles that you use for fuel might not change in kind of in value, right? So what that actually means is you will convert probably less ICP into cycles. So like if you look at it from that angle, you might think, oh, it's actually, it reduces the cost significantly, because yesterday I had to convert X amount, but today I have to convert less of my ICPs, if that makes sense. So
if that's the case, if ICP goes up relative to what it's pegged again. So if ICP goes up in value compared to the Swiss franc,
yeah,
it will become cheaper. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Like obviously when it drops in price, it all comes down to the gas fees are more stable, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about partnerships. Dfinity is part of this thing called Bind Code Alliance, which is a non-profit organization dedicated to creating new software solutions. It's built on standards of WebAssembly, which hopefully allows developers and software providers to run untrusted code confidently on like their infrastructure and devices, etc. So members include Dfinity, which is huge, and then other like tech powerhouses and giants like Google, Microsoft, Mozilla's there, Intel. So this is pretty huge for Dfinity to be cooperating with these players in the internet space, and for them to be at the table for deciding, setting standards on how like the internet is governed going forward. Because the internet is becoming a place of just large platforms like Google and Facebook and the likes, and there's less and less room for people to just go out and create along themselves. And Dfinity hopes to change that. Fleek has raised $4 million US, and again, like hopes to create like websites and decentralized apps on this Dfinity or this decentralized internet with something like a Cloudflare would be similar enough company at this point in time. OpenChat is a decentralized chat application that enables developers to host front and back end architecture on the Dfinity internet computer. And if we think like recently we had like Facebook changing its WhatsApp privacy, and there's a lot of fight back with that, with people changing to Signal and Telegram. And then a few years ago with the Hong Kong protests, we had like the Fire Chat, which was like P2P, and that really took off when the government took down the internet. So like in the Western world, we mightn't think of people reading our messages as like such a issue, but like in authoritative regimes, like this is very, very important, and to have a decentralized private way of communication can only be very, very beneficial for these countries and these for people under these regimes. Another application at this point in time is CanCan. It's just like a TikTok clone, like we need another one. But it's built. What was very unique about this is built on like less than 1,000 lines of code, and like comparably speaking, like Facebook is like 62 million lines of code. So this is like all thanks to like the web assembly infrastructure. So I'm just going to go on to the team now quickly. We have the CEO, who is Dominic Williams. He graduated from King's College London with a first in computer science in 1992. He's been a serial entrepreneur for many years. He sold System 7 in 2011. He was actively involved with Fight My Monster, which was a game that created over 3 million users, and has been involved in the Dfinity project for 5-6 years at this point in time. He's very intelligent chap, like most of the players, most of the team, and he's got many academic references in regards to blockchain and distributed systems. Then we have also Timo Hanke, who is I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but who's a math and cryptography professor. If you remember before there was ASIC mining, there's GPU and CPU mining, and he created ASIC Boost, which improved efficiency by 20%, which is like high level optimization of the Bitcoin algorithm, which no doubt made a lot of people a lot of money. And then we have Mr. Andreas Rosberg, who is a co-author of like WebAssembly, which I alluded to earlier. And he's created this language specifically for Dfinity called Motoko. And again, this gentleman is very, very intelligent. He has a plethora of academic papers and references. And this is 3 extremely talented people out of a team of what can only be described as like really, really smart people, 188 members at this point in time. One of the issues I think like going forward is just attracting developers. Currently, according to Statistica, there's 23 million developers in the world. Like a new language to learn and the scope of the project could motivate some developers but scare others. The analogy of the QWERTY keyboard really comes to mind. And the major problem with early typewriters was the keys kept on jamming when you're typing. So the QWERTY keyboard was designed for a typewriter, and it was designed to slow down typist typing so the keys wouldn't get stuck. Now we don't have any typewriters, yet we still are stuck with the QWERTY keyboard. And I'm just saying like that we have this inefficiency now right in front of you, probably right in front of your keyboard right now. And my point is that the best system doesn't necessarily always shine through. Dfinity potentially could disrupt the whole internet and break up these platforms and these huge silos of like AWS and Google and the like. But that doesn't necessarily, the best technology doesn't necessarily all come true. If Dfinity even manages to create all it promises, it needs to attract developers, create network effects, and these are ginormous tasks indeed. Like if we look at where the open positions are and who they're trying to hire a lot of network engineers, distributed systems, and this is really, really good signs in who you're going to hire. They're not trying to hire like sales and marketing people. Like they're trying to hire those who are going to build this infrastructure for hopefully us all to use in a more distributed internet.
Yeah, so moving on to the tokenomics, just like to give a shout out on Reddit, especially to Bows to Bows. I posted this in the Dfinity subreddit, and he and other people were super helpful in giving me the info on this. So just thanks a million, guys. Really appreciate it. So from the token distribution, we can see that over half the tokens are actually currently locked in for what they call strategic development or foundation endowment. It's basically tokens that are held to incentivize people to develop on the network and to sort of pursue the competitive goals of Dfinity, partially R&D, building infrastructure and hardware, and technology acquisitions and community programs, as well as partner and employee incentives. On the right-hand side, the large red slice you can see that makes up another quarter of it is the seed fundraising, and then below that is the strategic fundraising, pre-sale fundraising, and a tiny little bit, the 1.3% or 1.25 to be exact, is the community airdrop. So that, in addition to the early contributor, which is the 9.5, you can see it in the top, I think we can say are the tokens that kind of will be in circulation from the start of this project. The foundation endowment tokens appear to be held back, just as I said, to encourage people to develop and further the goals of the network. So if we look at the numbers, first of all, to say the Genesis launch is May 7th. Trading will commence a couple of weeks after that. They haven't set a date yet. In terms of the money they raised, it's quite a lot compared to a lot of other crypto projects. And I think when you look at the scale and, gravity of what they're trying to do, that's understandable. So from private investor sales in 2017, they raised 170 million at 3 cents. Just a year later, they were selling it for 150 times that at around $4.50, or I think it was 4.17 Swiss francs. And they raised another 110 million at that level. If we compare that to other projects that are kind of prominent at the moment, I think Student Coin was just over the 20 million mark, and Casper, including private sales, was around 60 million in fundraising. So these guys are raising many multiples of that. And in terms of the private investors themselves, they're fairly big hitters. Anderson Horowitz, Polychain, like very reputable in the space, invest in the Polkadot project early. Smart money as well as big money is backing this. In terms of the total supply, we got 470 million tokens, and there are IOUs trading at the moment at $195 last we checked. That will give Dfinity, the internet computer, a fully diluted market cap of 90 billion, which in terms of like real world companies would make them worth 10 billion more, I think, than General Electric, Netflix and eBay combined, which is, that's quite staggering. Now, we know from the graph above that around 52% or so of the tokens that are foundation endowment are being held back, or certainly won't be available to trade, the vast majority of them. So we can more or less half that, I think, in terms of calculating market cap off the circulating supply, so about 45 billion. To take a little look at the IOUs, Tokok, I had a look at, and indeed can confirm that it is available to trade on the exchange there. But in terms of any information regarding it, whether the ICPs will be exchanged or the IOUs will be exchanged for ICPs, or how they will, there's no information on that. Who.com was, honestly, have to say, it didn't look great, because on their Facebook, they put up a post that was just saying, we're now selling ICP. They didn't even put IOU after it, and that's just misleading and not right. They also, anytime I tried to get to their site to get information about it, I just got 403 forbidden, which means I didn't have access to view the information. So not exactly confidence inspiring stuff. Of the IOUs that we're trading, MXC looked the best. They did the Polkadot IOU, and as far as I know, these were exchanged for dots, and it went off fine, no complaints. That's just from research I did on Reddit. Obviously, I can't comment for everyone that invested in it, but this is what I found. They have said that the IOUs that you buy on mxc.com will be exchanged for actual ICP tokens when the lockup ends and they become available to trade. And if you feel compelled, if you feel this is a $45 billion company or a $90 billion company based on fully diluted market cap, there's a link below and you can get 10 USDT free for signing up on mxt.com. So what do you think, guys? Having looked across the various aspects of the projects, will you be inclined to buy this when it trades, when it starts trading?
I think if I was one of those lucky people who got the project at like 1 or 2 cents and the IOUs now at $190, I think there'd be a huge sell-off. I'd be looking to take profits then, wouldn't you? Like, how much more do you think? Like, it's the investment of a lifetime anyway. If you bought it at 3 cents and now it's $190, eat your heart out, Warren Buffett. Like, there'd be a huge sell-off, I would reckon. So maybe after that, and the price stabilizes, you could look to get in there. I think that might be an interesting time to.
Yeah. Well, 2 things to pick up on there. So we do have to say, like, the IOUs are not necessarily representative of what these ICPs will trade at when they open. They are just the best indication we have at the moment. One other indication we have, and shout out to our mate Boss, who helped us out a lot with this video. He's been following the project since 2017. He was made aware of a rumor that people were actually trying to buy ICPs up off the seed investors at $50 earlier this year, and where those efforts were, in what he found out, were rebuffed. So yeah, I mean, that's just a rumor, but that's what we heard. And
that gives an indication that people are very, let's say, bullish on this project, right? Which makes sense because it's so unique. Like, I would definitely be looking into buying some ICPs at some point in the future, right? Because it's just so different than any other crypto project that it makes sense to keep an eye on it, and you know, it screams value, right? Because it's a disruptor, it's creating something new, it's a differentiator, it's even going against big tech kind of, so it's competing with the big boys in some kind of way, but you know, the concept is totally different. So I'll definitely be looking at it, but like you guys said, I also expect sell-off at the start, so won't be just aping in and you know, and just try to ride all-time highs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think the market at large is so crazy at the moment. Like, there's going to be hype everywhere. The timing of this coming to market is like almost perfect for the foundation to maximize value and profit. And also, like, if you think about like who they're going to be competing with, like just on one level, like Amazon Web Services and cloud hosting, like that's $1 trillion industry. Like, you know, if they can get a little bit of it out of that pie, like, you know, it's going to be huge. Like.
The other thing we should say is that although now it's a great time for it to be coming to market because, you know, the crypto space is really hot, these guys have been banging away on this all through the crash and since. They've been at it since, you know, pre-2017, and they stuck at the project. And there's a lot of projects that were started during that time that we're never going to hear about. You know, these guys stuck with what they were doing, so they definitely deserve a lot of credit for that, and clearly believe in what they're doing. And in terms of like, will we see mass adoption of the network? That's another, you know,
that's an interesting question, and I think that's I don't know, like, it's necessary for it to succeed. I think it's all about network effects, but like Zach said earlier on as well, like, you know, the quirky keyboard is still the quirky keyboard, right? So there are some legacy things that and first mover advantages that are in play as well for the existing companies that are kind of monopolizing the internet. So yeah, will we see mass adoption? I do think there is a sentiment out there of moving away from big tech into other more privacy beneficial applications, like for instance Signal when you talk about WhatsApp, or Parler when you talk about Twitter. But Parler had a big issue with big tech where they were not able to stay on the Amazon of the AWS services. So yeah, to be honest, I don't know if we will see mass adoption right away, but there is definitely a sentiment out there.
If it's got a $90 billion market cap, it's going to slot straight into the top 10 cryptocurrencies, like number 6, number 7 now, and like that's unheard of for like well, not a new project, for one that can be traded almost immediately. Be dropped into the top 10, like.
Well, that's fully diluted market cap though, and we're assuming about 48% of the tokens are, you know, so we're looking at probably whatever 42, 43 billion based on circulating supply.
Okay. But one thing to say on that one, on that note, is that it's definitely not the same kind of projects as that are in the top 10 in the crypto space, right? Because this thing tries to revolutionize the internet. None of the other projects really do that. Like they're building on top of the existing internet. So yeah.
And I think the big thing for these guys is their Genesis event. I mean, what do you expect to see from the Genesis event? You know, what would you like to see from it that makes you, you know, more excited about this project?
Yeah, I would like to see real world examples already. Kind of like that. That's what I like. I've seen one video about demonstrating the Can app, the TikTok app, and it was just a guy showing cat videos to me on YouTube. So, like, I don't know, you know, like that could be anything. Like, I want to be able to download it. I want to understand, like, how can I just, you know, jump right into it. That's what I want to see from the event. Hopefully, like this event will give some clear answers on these questions that I might have. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a big deal for them. I mean, this is their big marketing event to, you know, bring it to the attention of as many people as possible. So,
did you guys sign up for it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I think that more or less covers everything, right, guys?
Yeah, I just want to know what our viewers think of Dfinity. If they are, interested in learning more, if they want to buy ICPs, if they want to become data centers, just let us know. Let us know if there's something that you feel we missed out on. I think that would be very, very useful for us.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Yeah. Thanks for good chats, and to everybody who watched it this far, like, thanks a million. We really appreciate it. Everyone's been just really positive in the comments and on Twitter as well. Just thanks a million, guys. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed the vid.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, lads.